And we are live. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us again on the WP Agency Summit. I'm here with the Yoast CEO Marieke van der Rakt, and we are going to talk about content SEO. Marieke, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. Hi, really nice to be here and to talk about content SEO.
It's a pleasure. So you have slides prepared for us. Let me bring them up onto the screen. And then we'll dive right into that. But beforehand, people, when you're watching this live, please ask questions in the chat. We are here to answer your questions. And ideally, you can bombard us with so many questions that Marieke doesn't even finish her slides.
Yeah, that's the goal. No, just feel free to interrupt and to ask anything if something's not clear. And then we'll have a nice conversation. Great. So I'll just dive in. Welcome, everybody. It's really an honor to be here at this live event and to talk about content SEO. So my name, and I've already introduced myself, is Marieke van der Rakt. I'm the CEO of Yoast. And Yoast, of course, is most famous for our plugin, our SEO plugin, which helps websites in WordPress rank high in Google. So content SEO. So I always like to think of content SEO of being the most actionable aspect of SEO. That's something you really can work on yourself. And there's a lot to improve on that side. It's really something you can make a difference in. And I don't want to say that technical SEO is less important, but we are at Yoast with our plugin. We do our very best to make sure that all the technical aspects of your SEO, of your site's SEO, are already taken care of. And actually, WordPress out of the box is pretty SEO friendly. And at our plugin, you're pretty much covered. So that doesn't mean you can't do anything yourself. At the content side, there's a lot of things you can do. And whenever I talk about content SEO, I usually talk about two aspects, and I'm going to cover both of them in this talk. SEO copywriting on one hand, and we have internal linking on the other hand. So let's start with a little SEO copywriting. So why is that important? Why is SEO copywriting important? In order to really answer that question, we need to dive into Google and into Google's mission. Google's mission is to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. Google wants to give the users a good experience. It wants to give the users that thing that they were searching for when they entered the Google search bar and entered their search terms. So, and it needs to be accessible and useful. And in the old days, like more than a decade ago or something, SEO was all about tricks. If you would write a blog post and mention the words you wanted to be found for in every sentence, you had a good chance of ranking. You could even write white letters on white background and then get away with that because Google wouldn't recognize that. You could get away with a lot of tricks. But Google is getting much and much smarter, and those things don't work anymore. You need to comply with Google's mission. Google wants to give people the information they are searching for. So you need to make sure that your search results, your website provides that. So you'll need a long-term sustainable SEO strategy. You need to focus on all aspects of website optimization in order to be that best result. And aiming to be the best result, that's what we call holistic SEO. Holistic SEO assumes that you focus on a whole lot of aspects of optimization. You should focus on technical excellence. You should focus on a good design. Make sure that your user experience and user interface is just awesome. You should make sure that you have a flawless security and you have really good PR and social. But most of all, you should make sure that you have really high quality content, because that's the way where you can really make a difference in your chances in the search engines. How do you do that? How do you write high quality content? Well, the first step in any SEO copywriting strategy should always be keyword research. SEO always starts with keyword research, always. You should know what your audience is searching for. You should get into the heads of your audience and use their words. Keyword research is hard, it really is. And there are a lot of tools out there that'll help you, like SEMrush. And this is kind of a new thing, but today we'll have a release of Yoast SEO in which we have a collaboration with SEMrush, which will make it easier to do your keyword research. But don't underestimate this step. You need to think about this, because if you are going to optimize for the wrong terms, those will never generate any traffic. So providing that you focus on the right search terms. Quality content needs to be original, it needs to be readable, and it needs to be findable. Let's start with original. You need to make sure that you write something that your audience will want to read. Make sure it's something that adds something to all the junk that's already out there on the internet, because there's a lot of junk out there. Make sure it's fresh and new and original. And don't write because you need to write for your SEO. Write because you want to share a story or to have a vision that you want to share. Make it content that people will want to read. And then it needs to be readable. Why is readability important? Well, first of all, reading from a screen, that's really hard. People have a hard time focusing and concentrating, especially if they're reading from a mobile screen. So you need to write something that is easy to understand. Second, people are really quickly bored. And if they are bored, they'll click away to another website. So your writing has to be enjoyable enough for them to stay on your site. And if they're not, if they don't understand it, if they'll click away, they will ever read what you have to say. They won't understand your message. You won't read them. And apart from readability being important for the user, it's also really important for Google, because Google reads texts too. And if Google is more able to understand what that text is about, it's also more able to rank it. So readability is important. I can do an entire talk about that. And in fact, I do an entire talk about that on a regular basis. But how do you improve the readability of a text? So let's go into that for a bit. First of all, the structure of your text is really important. If the structure of a text is clear, that will help your reader to understand your text much better. Make sure to think about the order in which you want to address topics. Present topics in a logical order. And add subheadings to help your reader to grasp the meaning of your text. Really important thing is to make sure to write clear paragraph. So a lot of people just use white spaces because it looks nice or because they feel like something is coming up. But a paragraph is actually a group of sentences that have the same message, that belong together. And if you think about it, and if you know how people are reading and scanning through a text, you'll know that the first sentence of every paragraph is really important. Because if you're scanning through a text, you'll read those first sentences after a white space. So if you know that, you can take that into account and make sure that in your writing, those first sentences cover what's really important. Like in this example, guinea pigs are social companion animals that require daily interaction. The other sentences in this specific paragraph are just elaborations on that main message of that first sentence. So these core sentences could really help your reader to grasp what your text is about. And that's really, you have a question?
I do have a quick
question
around that,
you
Marieke.
just
Sorry
scared
to
me.
interrupt.
You just startled me.
I didn't mean to. I'm sorry. So in the context of paragraphs, I see conflicting advice and recommendation on whether you want to have multiple sentences in a paragraph like you have in the example here, or whether you should make every single sentence their own paragraph. So that is something that I see Brian Dean from Backlinko do quite a lot. What is your thought on that?
Well, and I have science backing me up here. I think if you want people to understand which sentences are the most important, you can't have them all be equally important. So if you want to scan through a text and it's a longer text, then you can't have white spaces after every sentence. And I do see people doing that a lot. We do it more in newsletters because they're pretty short. But if you have a text that has like 500 words and you have a white space after every sentence, you'll have a hard time grasping the meaning of that text. And it may look nice, but I think that's not the best idea for your reader. It's really hard because every sentence has the same level. But I know that people are arguing about this. It's a lot of
So it boils down to sectioning the text, if you will, to have various parts of the text that people can skim through.
Yeah.
And I guess why Brian and other people get away with it is because they use so many images in their content that you can then use to separate the text and to skim through the text by looking at the images rather than reading the text.
Yeah. So you can, and then it's not. Then the text isn't that long, so you can get away with a lot of things if your text isn't really long. You should have subheadings or something that'll help the reader to get what next subject is coming up. And I think so we do that on the internet a lot, but if we would see that in like a book, it would be really weird. I also see people doing that in books though. So, but it's a weird thing. We have these ideas about how a text looks like, and I think they're all in our heads. So what you see people doing if they scan through a text is their eyes will fall at that first sentence. And if you don't have first sentences, they'll look at something else. You need them to have like a point in which they're going to focus.
Yeah. Brilliant. Sorry again for the interruption. I'll let you take over then.
Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, so it's a good thing to have people think about what is it that these sentences belong together. So in this case, in my guinea pig example, I like examples about guinea pigs. These sentences belong together. And if they belong together, you should make that visual. And one way to make that visual is a paragraph. And I think in longer texts, you can't get away with having every sentence being its own paragraph. Yeah, okay. But I still love all the people that do that. That write single sentence paragraphs. I understand why they would want to do that, but I think you could probably do it another way. Very important is to write short sentences. Shorter sentences are much easier to read and to understand than longer ones. It's just a fact that you need more brain power to process a sentence that is longer. So your cognitive loads, the power your brain needs in order to process a long sentence is much higher. And if you have a text with a lot of long sentences following each other, then your brain will just overload. So research shows that in English, we consider sentences containing more than 20 words to be long and to be hard for people to process. That doesn't mean that you can't write any sentences that are longer than 20 words, but you should mix it up. Because if your brain is rather full from having such a long sentence, then add a shorter one that'll make your brain cool down again, and then you can go on again. So let's look at those sentences a little bit more. How can you improve those? Well, and one thing that we always say is to add transition words. And transition words are words like first of all, also, but also because, similarly, likewise. And why are these so very important? Well, in school, so in elementary school, we teach our children these words because these words will help them to grasp the meaning of a text. Because if you read first of all or another, you know that that there is an enumeration, and that you should pay attention because there's coming another reason why or something. If you read most importantly, you will probably think, oh, this is something I really need to pay attention to. So your reader gets these words and is signaled about, oh, something important is coming up. And if you know that, then as a writer, you should use these words in a correct manner and help people to grasp that meaning of your text. These really give direction to your reader. And then another thing that we always say that you shouldn't do is passive voice. So you should avoid passive voice. And why should you do that? Well, using the passive voice almost always makes your writing more distant and your message less clear. And why is that? Well, in order to explain that, the easiest way is to contrasting the two. You have the active form, that's mom hugged me. And then you have the passive voice, I was hugged by mom. Well, you instantly see that the passive voice usually is longer, so that makes it more complicated, but there's more going on. So the sentence structure is more complex, it's more wordy, and it will require more cognitive effort. Your reader will spend valuable working memory on making sense of the sentence, and that decreases the likelihood of you getting your message across. So why is that? Well, turns out the passive voice turns the basic active sentence that we're used to in English, and it turns it all the way around. So you discover who or what was doing the hugging all the way at the end of the sentence. And that makes it harder to understand because we expect it to be at the beginning. So our heads are all turned around, and we need a little bit more brain power to get used to that. Whenever you're using passive voice, you should consider whether or not there is a better alternative available, because sometimes there isn't. And then it's okay to use it. But in this case, there is. And then you should use the active voice. All these things like passive voice and sentence length, even paragraph length, I think they're all in our readability analysis in Yoast SEO. So we help you to detect whether or not you use passive voice, detect whether or not you use enough transition words, and help you to get your text up to par. So now you have original content and you have readable content and you've written nice paragraphs, but you want to be found, you want to turn up in the search results. So you can do a lot of optimization actually that'll help with your ranking. And that all has to do with your keyword you came up with at the beginning. And then because we all want to rank, that's the entire thing of SEO. So our plugin helps you to get that keyword optimized. Use your keyword in the subheadings. Our bullets will tell you whether or not you need to adapt your meta description, add a picture or a link that will all help with your ranking. But optimizing for the search engines with our plugin should never compromise your readability. So you shouldn't go that far that your text becomes not nice to read in order to try to rank in the search engines. And that doesn't mean that I'm saying that you shouldn't have exact matching keywords anymore. I really believe in keywords, and I really believe that you know what your audience is searching for. However, exact matching of keywords, especially if your keywords are a little bit more longer, that's becoming less and less important, because overall the algorithm of Google is trying to mimic a human. It tries to reach text like a human being. And as Google becomes more capable of understanding and scanning text in a human-like way, the demands of readability also rise. So trying to optimize your text for a specific lengthy keyword, that feels a bit outdated. And that's why our plugin recognizes different word forms and synonyms. It recognizes plurals and past tense and different word orders. And you can add related keywords too. So in our premium analysis, we are able to analyze your text for SEO and take into account all these different word forms. So our analysis, it's a really hard word, recognizes both the singular guinea pig as well as the plural guinea pigs. And that makes it a lot easier to optimize for the search engines without compromising your readability. Because if you would have to write the singular all the time, then you'll get a really weird text. So that'll be optimizing in a more natural way. You have focus, which is good because you need that guinea pig, but it should not be a game, or it should not feel awkward or non-natural. So we've talked about the first aspect, SEO copywriting. And it's time for the second. That's internal linking. So why is internal linking important? Well, it's important for your user because if you have nice internal links, it will be easier to find a way around your website for a user. But it's also important for Google because the way your site is structured, that will give Google important clues about where to find the most important content. Your site structure, your internal linking structure, determines whether or not a search engine can understand what your site is about and what you're selling. And in order to really understand that, let's look back to what Google is actually doing. Remember that search engines like Google follow links. That's just what they do. The spider or the bot or the crawler, that thing that follows links. For Google to know about the existence of a website, there has to be at least one link pointing towards that. And if Google follows that link or finds that link, if Google Spiders finds that link, it follows that link to a website, and then it will know about the existence of that website. The next step is that it will put all the information on that website, so the content and the headings of the links, in the index, which is a really large database Google has. And then it goes on and follows other links. And every time it finds something that's different from the content that's saved in the index, it will save that again. So it will alter that. All these changes will be saved in the index. Well, some sites, Google will come around really often. Pages with a lot of visitors, pages on which things change very often. And on other pages, Google's bots and spiders will not appear so very often. So what you need to remember from this is that Google follows links. And that means it will follow your internal links as well. And it will crawl through all your internal links on your website. And if a certain page gets lots and lots of links, Google spiders will come there pretty often. But if a page gets no or little links, Google will not come there really often. So the way you structure your website, the way you internally link one page to the other is really important. And pages that have lots and lots of links pointing towards them, they will appear important to Google, while pages that do not have any links will become less important in the eyes of Google. So really important internal linking and really actionable because you can start improving your internal linking structure, well, this afternoon. So what should you do in order to improve that? So my first tip is a question. You should think about this. Which pages are the most important? And that sounds really easy, but that really isn't that easy. Before you do anything, I would advise you to think about which pages are important. If you would be allowed to show an important client 4 or 5 articles, which ones are the most important ones? Ask yourself, what pages do I want to rank with? Which pages should my audience find and read? And which pages are the most valuable? With which pages do I make the most money? So in SEO, we often talk about cornerstone content, and those are mostly these really lengthy, informative articles, but it could also be landing pages or shop pages that are really important to your business. That should be the most important ones. So after you've thought about that, you probably have your most important, maybe informative articles, maybe sales pages, and these will probably tackle the most competitive keywords. So they'll probably be the pages you have the hardest time ranking with, because everybody wants to rank with these words. So keywords that all the people want to rank for, so very competitive keywords, we call those head keywords. While keywords that are less competitive are often referred to as long tail keywords. Long tail keywords are more specific, more lengthy, while head keywords are more generic. So if you would look at vacation home, that's a really competitive search term, then vacation home would be competitive. But if you make it vacation home in the south of France, that would be more long tail. So in every niche, you have those really competitive keywords, and you have keywords for whom less people search for, but it will be easier to rank for as well. So focusing on a lot of long tail keywords, that could be a great way of attracting traffic, because all these articles together could really get you a lot of traffic. But with a decent internal linking structure, these long tail posts could actually help you to rank with your head keyword as well. And this is where my second tip, which I already showed you, link from the tail to the head, comes in. Let's imagine that you want to rank with a page about site structure. I want to rank with a page about site structure. It's my most important article. It's called The Ultimate Guide to Site Structure. But it's really hard to rank for because it's a really competitive terms. So if you want to rank for such a term, you probably have a lot of articles that are also about that subject, smaller articles. You'll need them. If you don't have them, you should write them. Smaller articles that are each focusing on a different aspect of the thing I really want to be found for, like site structure FIQ, importance of site structure, internal linking, site structure best practices. So what you'll do is you'll have all these little articles, and you'll put links pointing towards your main article. So you put links from all these different articles about site structure. And that'll help with the ranking for the great one. I'll see another question. You can interrupt again, Jan, of course.
Brilliant. So one question that this amazing graphic immediately sparked is, you have the main keyword site structure in the titles of those long tail posts. So isn't that cannibalizing the main site that we want to rank?
It could be cannibalizing. You're addressing a great point here. Yeah, it could be cannibalizing if you don't tell Google which one is the most important one. So if you want to do that, so write a bunch of articles about the same thing, you should also make sure that your internal linking structure tells Google which one is the most important. Because otherwise Google will get confused. And if Google gets confused, you'll get lower rankings. So what you should do is you should make sure that every one of those little articles has a link pointing towards that most important one. And then Google Spider will come along, crawl all of your website, and immediately will see, hey, I'm getting a lot of links pointing towards this main article. So that will be the one that's really important. And that will be the one that will turn up in your search engines. If you don't do this correctly, you end up with keyword cannibalization. So pay attention.
Yeah, so we have to be very careful with this.
You need to have your internal linking structure up to par, because otherwise you'll be competing with your own content. And if you do it correctly, these little articles will attract traffic because they'll rank for these long tail keywords. So they attract traffic themselves, but they'll also help you with pointing towards that one important article. So that's the thing you need to be doing. You need to link from those long tails all to that head tail. You should all be pointing towards, I see that as pointing towards, but linking towards the most important one. And if you'll be doing that from a lot of articles towards one article, then Google will see that's the most important one, because it ends up there every single time. This might seem like something you can game. You just take your article and put in a lot of links pointing toward that one thing you want to rank with. However, this only works if you link contextual. And that means your links should make sense, because Google is able to read and understand text. And if you're just adding random internal links to your website, that won't work. The link should actually be useful to your audience. And that means if you're writing a blog post about ballet shoes, a link from that post should always be in context. So you could be linking to a post about ballet lessons or maybe about hip hop shoes, but you can't link to a post about site structure because that doesn't make sense. It should make sense to your user, to your reader. And actually, our plugin has this really nice feature that'll help you to do just that. So it gives you internal linking. Here it is, internal linking suggestions. And these are always in context. So we'll just analyze your text and then say, hey, you're writing about this. You'll probably want to link to these things as well. And if you indicate which one in a certain niche is your most important one, that article will always pop up highest if it's contextual. So you'll be automatically reminded that you should link to that really important article. And this is a question I get really often. Is there such a thing as too much high quality content? Well, yes, there is. And especially if you don't take care of your internal linking structure, if you don't do that properly, because you'll be probably optimizing articles for similar terms because you want to be found for. And you might suffer from keyword cannibalization, which we're already talking about. And then you'll be actually devouring your own chances to rank in Google. So if you are writing about similar topics, which we're all doing, your internal linking structure is really important. So make sure to tell Google with your internal linking structure which articles are the most important. So we've come to the end of this little presentation. And what should you remember? Well, you should remember that content is king. That's something that SEOs always say, or some SEOs say, that content is king. You need to make sure your content is original, readable, and findable. But if content is king, then internal linking is its queen, because that's really important as well, especially if you have written a lot of articles about similar topics. You should always make sure to tell Google which pages are important and link from the long tail ones to the head one, the one that's really important, and always make sure that you link in context. So that's it. Well, that's what I wanted to say, but maybe we have questions. No, I can't hear you yet, Jan.
That's true. I just muted myself because I didn't want to interrupt you, and I was in awe of the presentation. Thank you so much for putting this together, Marieke. I do have a few questions that I came up with. We unfortunately have not yet received questions from the audience. I see people watching and giving hearts and stuff, but all they come up with is great content rather than asking questions, but which isn't too bad to begin with. So I would love to talk a little bit about the copywriting aspect, the SEO copywriting aspect, and specifically about frequency versus length of content. So obviously it's quite easy to put out 500 words articles that are optimized for content. Are 6 500-word articles better than a 3,000-word article, if you can even compare it that way?
I don't know. I think I don't think Google thinks of no, Google is not going to count your words and say, oh, you have, so you can't. I think more articles are probably better because it's easier to write. It's hard to write a really good 3,000 words article. And I think a lot of people try to do that, but that's like a lot of work, because it should be something that's readable all the way through the end and is enjoyable for people all the way through the end. And if you can do that, then by all means go and write something that's 3,000 words. But if you're not that good of a writer, I think you could probably do 6 500 words. That would be a better tactic, because that's just easier, and that will keep your story more focused.
Yeah, and that also helps with the internal linking, I guess.
Yeah,
because then you have six places to link from to your main article.
Yeah, so you could also make, but that you could also like begin. That's usually how we do it. So we have a topic, and we write a lot of articles about it, and then at one point think, well, we know so much now. We can write like an article that's overarching about all these topics. So that would be my advice. First, write those 6 or 7 articles, and maybe then take time to really put something together that overarches all of those.
And then you redo the internal linking so that these 6 smaller ones go to the bigger one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really nice approach, because I remember my first article on Conversion XL. It was aimed to end at 3,000 words, and to get there, I wrote around 6,500 in the first draft, and then the CXL team edited it down to around 3,000 to put just the best content in place, so that, as you said, it is enjoyable and people read it all through the end, because it's easy when you're just aiming at that number, you're shooting from the hip. Essentially, you're just pulling out a number out of thin air and aim at 3,000 words. It's easy to just use filler words and put in content that doesn't really belong in the text, so that there is that you hit that target number.
Yeah, I have a hard time writing something that's really lengthy. I don't know why, because I write a lot. I am a writer. I've been writing in a journal ever since I was 8. So I am a writer, but I can't write really lengthy articles. I get fed up with myself or something. I'm like, nobody wants to read this. So I and you have to have, so 200 words is too little. We always say at least 300. And usually my articles, I think my blog posts are about 600. But then I'm like, my point is clear. This is it. Yeah, I don't know.
I have the opposite issue. I don't have time to write short articles, so I write longer ones, because
you just have a lot to say.
Either that, or I can't get to the point quickly enough. Yeah.
But that could be. Well, I don't know, but I think it is hard to tell a story in a limited amount of words. Then you have to get to your point really quickly. I get to my point in my first paragraph. That's always what I do. The last sentence of my first paragraph is always, this post is about. Always.
Yeah.
And
which is a good thing.
Yeah, but so you only have to read my first paragraph, because the last sentence says what you're going to expect, and that's it. It's always
that's similar to how you should structure YouTube videos as well. You tell people what to expect from the video, so that when they are interested, they know immediately that they have to watch the video till the end. Yeah. There's a question coming in actually from Anastasios. Hi, great presentation. Would the strategy be enough to increase your domain authority and outrank your competitors? So I think, Anastasios, you're referring to the internal linking aspect of this talk.
I hope so, because you never know. It all depends on your competition, of course, but it's always a place to start. So you have head keywords, then you have long tail keywords, but you always have longer tail keywords and even longer tail keywords. So you can always start somewhere where your niche is something that people are searching for. So really stay close to what you're doing, what your mission is, and see if you can rank really close to what makes you very special. And then you can aim for those more head terms. So start with the long tail ones, write a lot of articles, try a more competitive term, link towards all of these articles, and then work your way up. So I think it's always a good strategy, but it depends on what your competition is.
Yeah, if you're trying to rank for web hosting and you're competing with WP Engine, then I wish you good luck. Yeah.
It's really hard, because WP Engine is an older company, so it also has this brand and this authority that Google has granted it, and I think for a good reason. But that makes it hard for newcomers in that specific market. So then you have to find out what makes my hosting so very special, because that'll be the words that, if people are searching for you, they will find what you're actually doing. So maybe you have eco-friendly hosting. I'm just coming up with this, I don't know. But something that makes your hosting stand out from all of the others, that would be the words you want to be found for now.
Yeah, makes total sense. How do we make sure that we write about keywords that people are actually searching for? Is that something we could get from tools like SEMrush?
Yes. Yeah.
Are there cheaper tools you could recommend? Because SEMrush might well break the bank if you're just a freelancer.
Oh, but you can have up to 10 searches a day in our plugin. So you can really
nice.
start with that. Yeah.
Nice. I didn't know that.
I learned that today. So you can start with the free for that. That'll help you a little bit. And of course, you have the Google Suggest things that will just and the Google Trends things, and you can see which of the which if you have 2 search terms, which is more popular. So you have these kind of tools as well. I always think, and we've talked about this the last time as well. So even I really enjoy SEMrush and it's a good tool, you should also think about this yourself. So your brain is your most important tool, and talking to your customers, asking them why they would want to buy your product or would want to buy your service, that'll get you those words that you want to be found for, because their reasons will probably also be the reasons for other people that are not yet your customers.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing as well. And then add that with some tools, and then you're probably on your way.
Yeah, and that just reminds me of a thought I had earlier when I was thinking about my own content marketing strategy after the summit. And I wanted to write about what sponsors can get from a virtual summit. And to do that, I will go back into the emails that we exchanged in the very beginning of our conversation and just look at what words you used to describe this summit, because I say virtual summit. Everybody else says virtual conference, virtual event, online event, what have you. So you have to find some common ground there. Yeah.
You probably are found for virtual summit because I know this is always the example and it's a Dutch example, so I don't know if it resonates in English, but we have this this company called Center Parks, which is like this vacation park in the Netherlands, and they call their vacation homes, they call them cottages. But nobody searches for cottages. So you can call them
not cottages. In that context, yeah.
No. So if you are searching for a holiday home, you search for holiday home and not for holiday cottage. But that was their branding, calling them that way. And that can be like, it could be your branding, but nobody is using that. So that could be a mistake people are making. And it could be a conscious mistake, saying, no, I want to be a summit. I want to remain a summit, but then you have to do the extra effort to get that word out.
Yeah. My tagline is the one virtual conference for WordPress agency owners. So that's where the virtual conference comes back.
Yeah.
Okay. And Anastasios has another question. Does this internal linking structure work for e-commerce? So writing small articles and linking them back to a product page rather than just content page?
I think it works for everything because Google works the same for e-commerce and non-e-commerce. I do understand that on the e-commerce side, you'll have smaller articles because it doesn't make any sense to write 300 posts about the color of a t-shirt. So I get that you should write a shorter article there. But in the end, it works the same. So linking back to that main page, Google crawls to that website the same way it crawls to any other website. So it's exactly the same thing.
Yeah. And I think you can just get creative with what type of content you can write about the product. Yeah. I recently saw a video, I don't remember who it was from, but it was about SEO strategy for an online shop that sells LED bulbs. And then the example was you could write about office lighting, home lighting, how lighting impacts your mood, what type of LED bulbs you can get, LED bulbs versus filament bulbs, and all these different angles you could come up with about just a simple LED bulb.
Yeah, you can do a lot, but you shouldn't do that on the product page. So you can blog a lot about products.
Yeah. I think that was Anastasios was referring to.
Yeah.
Yep. And then if you sell more exciting products, obviously, then there's
what's
no
more
limit.
exciting than a light bulb? I totally. Informative articles help rank with your. So we have the same thing. We have a lot of informative articles about internal linking, and we also have an internal linking tool. So they're all linking towards that one.
Yeah. Is it in general easier to rank informative articles over articles with a sales intent?
It depends on your niche, I guess. In our case, yes. But that's also because we have more people searching for the informative search term. So we attract more traffic with those terms. So that's another thing, right? It's attracting traffic and ranking high. So I think we rank high on you're welcome, Anastasia. I think we'll be ranking really high on buy at Yoast SEO Premium. That'll give us, that's not hard to rank for us. But that doesn't give us that much. The informative articles give much more traffic. So they're harder to rank for, but also more rewarding if you have those.
Yeah, and I think it's also coming back to backlinks a little bit. It's also because people would rather promote informative content and link to informative content rather than linking to a product page.
Yeah.
Unless it's an affiliate link, then it makes sense.
Yeah, no, people, and of course, because the informative articles, especially in the SEO field, in which there's a lot of information on the internet, they are very valuable. So people will want to link to that once. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. We don't have any further questions coming on. So people, if you have questions watching, I see still people are watching this. So keep us busy with your questions. We are here to help you. One thing that I would love to talk about in this context is the need for a premium tool. So we spoke about this a little bit off camera before we started this conversation, and I want to give you a stage and sell us on Yoast Premium. Why does it make sense? Yeah, why does it make sense to upgrade to premium? What's the benefit?
Well, I think the benefit is mainly the things I've been talking about today. So our premium analysis has a morphology recognition or a word form recognition, which means that it does more than the exact matching of a keyword. So if you want to optimize for something, even if you're optimizing for games for cats, and if you use that in a lengthy sentence and there are words between it, our free analysis won't recognize that, and our premium analysis will. And this is a hard time or a hard feature to build, and that's why it's premium. We have a group of linguists working on this, and we currently have this in English and in German and in Dutch and in Russian. We have so many languages, and in Portuguese, I guess, and in Spanish and in French, and we're doing Swedish. I don't know. So we're trying to tackle that in every language, which makes it a much more natural experience to rank in the search engine. So that's a premium feature. And I think if you have a website that's getting bigger, then you'll need a little help with your internal linking, because otherwise you'll be cannibalizing your own content, and our internal linking tool will really help you to do that. And then we have some technical stuff. We have the redirect manager, which we have been having for ages, which is really useful to have. We have some social images. And we have support, so you can we have so a wonderful support team.
And speaking of support, let's support Marlon with his question. The similarities between YouTube SEO and Google SEO are stunning. Ever looked into that?
Yeah, I'm not that good in YouTube SEO, but I think YouTube and Google is the same company, so I'm not surprised that they are different. I think we're not that good yet in YouTube SEO, and we should get better. But I think I'm a little bit too old. So I know I have a son who is 14, and whenever he needs to do something, he doesn't Google, he YouTubes. He just enters a query in YouTube. But I don't watch videos if I want information. But I think the similarity is that Google reads texts and can't do the video part as much. So optimization, even for YouTube, is a lot to do with using the right keywords in your description in keywords.
Yeah. So Marlon is just diving into YouTube. Marlon, we're on the same journey then.
Yeah. We're all on the same journey.
I've been diving into this lately a little bit, and what I found is, what I saw come up over and over again, is that the usage of your videos heavily impacts how they're ranking. So if you have a lot of watch time and people completing the videos to like 50%, 75% on average, then your videos will rank a lot higher, and not so much just because of the title that you have coming in.
No,
So
you have to have good videos, which is exactly the same as
it's
Because
good
also,
content on written form. Yeah.
yeah, but they have to be rather lengthy, I think, the YouTube videos, in order to really get ranked, which is hard because people are really quickly annoyed also with video. If I look
Yeah.
at my own experience, I'm like clicking away. Yeah, so you have to have like 8 minutes or something, which is really long. And we're doing a lot of videos for our Yoast Academy, and we usually have shorter videos because people's attention span is much shorter.
Yeah, you have to be very good at editing to make these
Yeah.
long videos engaging, and that's where the time is spent, not so much in the recording itself. And it's something that probably even this live stream, we are 15 minutes in right now, and we still have over 30 people watching. So first of all, thanks for spending the time with us for so long. But then I think we could make this a lot more engaging if StreamYard would let us do like transitions and fancy animations, and we can go back and forth and highlight more things than just blending in contents and comments every now and then. If you can make video more engaging with kind of animations and stuff, that helps, I guess.
Yeah, but that's also, so you need to be really entertaining in your videos in order to rank high. And at Yoast, I think, I don't want to, but we're pretty informative and serious company. So we try to be enthusiastic, but usually our content is rather dry and serious and helps you to do things. So it's not, so I would prefer to make shorter videos. because people will just be like that after watching 8 minutes of.
Let's just get to the facts straight away. Yeah. There's another great question coming in. What about Google Voice? That is an interesting one.
It's a really interesting one. So Google Voice, I don't know if it really is going to become something, because we've been hearing about Google Voice for ages. But if it is getting more important, then your readability is really important. And for people that can't read and have to have a screen reader reading them texts out loud, just imagine that you can only listen to a text. That means that your text should be so very well written. So then the passive voice and the transition words and the structuring in a logical order becomes so very important, and the shortness of your sentences. So if Google Voice is getting more important, readability will become more and more important. And I think for Google Voice is really important, but you never know what Google thinks. So that's the main reason that I think readability is a big thing. But I am skeptical because Google never understands me if I speak to Google. We have said that.
That's just a training thing. The more you speak to Google, the better it will understand you.
Yeah, but I speak English to Google, and it speaks Dutch back to me. That's not a good thing.
That's true. Yeah, I think that the voice search in general will become much more important just because of the rise of Alexa and devices like that. And I have to be careful what I say now, because she sits right next to me and she might turn all the lights up if I say the wrong thing here.
You have an Alexa. Yeah, we have
in every room.
Oh yeah,
except for bathroom.
Oh yeah, we have a Google, and my children always ask, "Hey Google, tell a joke," and it does, but it's really bad jokes. Or my children ask them information about a certain football player, but then I hear how hard it is, because then my son, who is 8, he says, I can't understand it because it will just read out loud a snippet about this football player. But that information is so hard to understand just from hearing it, that he then goes to his iPad and Googles it again and then reads it. Because that's easier than to listen to it. So
that's a great point.
Yeah.
It reminds me of what Bob Dunn is doing with Bob WP. When he has a podcast episode finished, he spends almost an entire day transcribing it, because the way we speak is so different from the way we write and the way we read.
Yeah, the way we listen is also very different. Yeah, so it's really hard to listen to text, and if you if you know that and if you're aware of that, then readability becomes even more important, which is a good thing because we have readability analysis. And no, what it just helps making my point. If you look at Google Voice, then readability is really important.
Yeah. Yeah, and especially, I think readability will also benefit you in terms of the metrics that Google uses to rank. So time people spend on your page, bounce rate, and stuff like that. If your content is easy to read, they'll bounce less.
Yeah,
as simple as that. Yeah. And Marlon makes a good point about YouTube again, that YouTube also does appear in the search results. So that's a really good thing. And he seems to want to visit you when lockdown is over.
The lockdown is over. Yeah.
Yeah. we can host a big meetup at Yoast when the lockdown is over.
Yeah. We were supposed to have a Yoast con, and I still want to do one, but we don't know. We just now put it off until we know better how we I'll make the snippet. Everybody should make the snippets readable. That's really important.
Yeah. I love it. I didn't see that coming, that we were going to talk about YouTube and Google Voice and stuff like that, but it is so exciting.
You never know where you're going to talk about.
That's the fun of these live things, yeah. But unfortunately, we are coming into land here, and we have to stop this soon because I'm sure you are even more busy than I am. So
I don't know about that this week, though. I think this week you're the busiest.
Probably true, yeah. Marieke, thank you so much for coming on. And for those people who are not watching via the Yoast fan page, please tell us where people can get in touch with you if they want to ask more questions.
Well, I think Yoast.com is a great way. I also have my own blog in which and we talked about this the other day. I don't blog very regularly anymore, but I should be doing that. That's Marieke.blog. And on Twitter, I'm Marieke Rakt. So that's a great way to contact me as well.
And if you want to learn more about Yoast and win some special prizes, go to wpagencysummit.com/Yoast. Visit the virtual booth that they have on the summit because there are some amazing giveaways you can win.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, everybody, for attending, and have a great rest of the day.